Robbie!
What's going on, Pama? How are you, man?
How are you, man? Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to my first Mentor Mondays. The real goal is to talk to young entrepreneurs and just directly give whatever impact I can give. I don't have a goal of like being the coolest guy in the world and having all the information and keeping it locked away in the drama vault. Like I really want to be one day responsible for helping other people make some progress. This is our chance to just chat, man, and just ask me anything.
It's a great idea. It's huge. I'm about a year and a half in business. There's so many things I wish I knew and wish I could learn faster. So I feel like some of your experience, it's such a good time to have a conversation and learn a thing or two.
So why don't we start, like, just tell me, like, full name, just because it's 2018, tell me your Instagram.
Yeah.
Tell me what you do. I know we had these delightful teas, and I've just been reading about how healthy and great this tea is, but I've never actually like really had it. And just tell me like a little bit about what's going on, who you are.
Cool. My name's Robbie Page. I'm 25 years old. I'm from upstate New York. I played volleyball at UCLA and played professionally for 3 years. Yep. And through the whole time, we were kind of drinking a lot of coffee and energy drinks, unhealthy energy. Yep. We found matcha green tea, and it was just like a dream come true. It's like good caffeine. It's incredibly healthy for you. Ton of antioxidants.
And like, how'd you discover it?
It's really funny, man. Like, I kind of believe like in just how life works and just recognizing opportunities and chances, you know, like your gut feeling. And we were just, my buddy was on my couch, his name's Steve. We were living in Long Beach, and we just wanted to make a positive impact on the world, like do something crazy, you know, affect a lot of people. And so we thought a brand was a great place to start, you know, something you can build that's bigger than yourself, something that like can really affect a lot of people with a very small product. And we found matcha just stumbling the internet, man, like doing a bunch of reading, trying to find better energy so we could learn faster and work harder just at business and learning, because neither me or Steve studied business in school. I mean, same deal. I mean, no one really studies in school anymore. But
is school worth it to you?
What's that?
Is school worth it to you?
That's a great question. I mean, I studied neuroscience, so in a lot of ways, like, I learned how to learn.
But what was your dream, to become some sort of fucking brain surgeon?
That's a crazy thing, man. Like, so I'm from a small town in upstate New York, and my parents are both doctors. My dad does brain research, my mom's a pediatrician. So like my whole life, it was like, become a doctor, become an engineer, become a lawyer if you want to make money and like provide for your family and have a good life, you know? I feel like that's a lot of the stigma you get in like the far out lands of the US and stuff, you know? Like education is so important.
Also a lot of like immigrant families, you know, like I've learned a lot of like people that come here from other countries. It's kind of like just play it safe and do one of these because they're guaranteed, right? Be a lawyer or a doctor. That's interesting. And then, so did you drop out of college or no?
No, I finished my degree.
So you're a neuroscientist? Not
quite, man. I'm an undergrad, but like the coolest part for me was coming to LA. I really saw like how much else you can do, you know, like how many other ways you can make money and like, impact the world. That's crazy. How about for you, man? Like coming from Ohio, right?
Yeah, it was the same thing, man. I came here. The difference is like my family was not doctors. I mean, I love my family to death, but not that like level of sort of like expectation or even what was possible. And so I just came to LA like hoping to figure it out. And I love skateboarding, and LA is where all the skateboarders are. And like I just knew there was opportunity, but it was the same thing where just seeing everything that was going on and everything that was possible and like meeting people that were doing really cool things opened my mind to like, oh shit, you can do something totally different. Like you don't have to stick to any one path. You can accomplish this, you know, whatever it is. Like it was a huge eye opener, you know. That's why I feel like for young people, like relocating and like maybe trying a big city or trying something like that is definitely worth it, you know.
What would you say, like Young and Reckless, could you have built it in Akron, Ohio?
Zero chance.
Zero chance,
yeah. Absolutely zero chance.
No doubt.
Yeah. But it's just not possible, right? Like, and I think that not only is it not possible, but in those small towns, you're almost subconsciously, here's some neuroscience, you're almost subconsciously like trained that level of accomplishment isn't for us, right? Like we're just in Ohio and we like read magazines and like follow people on Instagram, but like we're not those people.
So it couldn't be more true, man. I feel like that circle kind of happens when you like, everyone's kind of trapped in a bubble in the outside world. Like Hollywood to me was so foreign. Like for a while I didn't realize it was like real people. I just kind of watched it like, oh, like that's not real life, you know.
Yeah, it might not be. I'm still on the fence.
To be determined, right?
Yeah. So what did you started a year and a half ago?
Yeah, officially July of 2016.
And what's the like, okay, so matcha is the type of tea, right? What's the like business plan? What's the hole that you're filling? What's the opportunity,
sure.
you know?
So matcha is a stone ground green tea powder.
Okay.
So instead of like putting green tea in a tea bag and steeping it,
yep.
you dissolve it directly into your drink. So you get like 10 times the nutrients, 10 times the caffeine, 10 times all the health benefits.
Yep.
It's been consumed in Japan for almost 1,000 years. So it's a long history there. And I really believe, you know, like in things that have proven successful, there's a lot of opportunity. They're not going to go anywhere anytime soon, you know, like they're around. And we kind of, through my reading, I love reading, and I read Howard Schultz's story, you know, about how he brought espresso from Italy to the U.S. and opened a new market up and kind of brought this tradition to a product that already existed but hadn't really been taken full advantage of in the U.S. Yeah. And we saw matcha and we're like, wait a minute, this is pretty cool stuff, you know, like no one's just really like unheard of. That's one of the hardest things. It's like, it's very, very new to a lot of people, you know? Yeah. But so we're starting with just green tea powder. We just sell kilos of green tea powder. Kilos of TenzoTea.
Damn, you're like fucking Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, right? Just importing from Japan and distributing a bunch of powder.
Why is green tea so much better than coffee? Because I love coffee.
Yeah, right? I feel like that's the thing. Like, coffee's great. Yep. But in a lot of ways, coffee, it's highly acidic. It kind of messes with your stomach. It's not good for your like oral hygiene, your teeth, causes all the bad breath. And green tea is like amazing superfood. It has like antibacterial properties. It's good for your heart and your brain. Yep. Boosts your metabolism. Yep. It has a lot of those things. Coffee is a really good energy boost, and also the energy boost of coffee, you're shooting up. It's like, whoa, this is awesome, and then you just like crash. Yep.
I know that story very well.
Yeah, and you gotta go back for another cold brew.
4 p.m. today. I'm scheduled for a crash.
Yeah, right. Matcha is cool because it has this rare amino acid called L-theanine. That's like, it's very, very potent in matchas, especially because you get to ingest the full leaf. Yep. But it works with caffeine to give you a long, sustained energy boost that doesn't really spike. It just kind of goes gradual, and then it'll just let you down softly.
Tell me what the brand's called again?
TenzoTea.
Why is it called that?
Great question. So a Tenzo is one of the 6 paths to enlightenment in a Buddhist monastery. It's a position held by the chef who takes donations from the people and creates meals so the monks can practice meditation without hindrance. Yep. So a direct translation is heavenly monk in Japan. So a couple of reasons. We read the story about a Tenzo, like, wow, this is amazing. Love the idea and the concept of that. And then I like the alliteration too, just TenzoTea sounded great. Yeah. Found it within the first 24 hours and we've rolled with it ever since. Yep.
And then what was the actual process of like, so you're like, okay, we want to start this business, we're going to call it TenzoTea. Like, what do? You have to find a manufacturer?
Yeah, great question. So matcha is kind of like wine. So it comes from all over the world. There's a lot of different grades and levels, and there's some in China and some in Japan. The best matcha comes from Japan. So we kind of knew off the get-go, like we had to find Japanese matcha.
How long did it take to do all that research?
Well, when we started, like, it was literally me on Google. Just went to the first 3 pages of Google for suppliers and just hit up every single person. Got it. Got as many samples as possible and picked the best one. Got it. And then it was actually a private labeler back then, so we kind of had a good in. It was a pretty easy, like low friction start. And then we changed suppliers twice since then, just kind of leveling up.
And where did you sell it to when you were a private labeler?
We started e-commerce, so we sold online, just shipping boxes of green tea all over the country. Yep. And then when we were in Long Beach, we had a lot of great success moving into coffee shops and juice bars and a lot of these places that sell coffee, because it's an amazing coffee alternative. Yep. It's a really good option for caffeine without like all the coffee side effects and negatives.
And so that was just like driving around, knocking on doors and saying, hey, do you want to carry our thing?
Relentlessly knocking on doors. Yeah. Like relentless. We were very fortunate to start in Long Beach, like about a stone throw away from one of the biggest shops in LA. It's called Portfolio Coffee House. So we went there every morning at 5:30, worked there for 10 hours a day until we knew every person in the shop, the owner, the baristas, knew who worked, how like the different janitor like realms changed and like taking shifts. Yeah. And we went and pitched to the owner and she's like, no. Yeah. Get out of here. Yeah. You don't have any shops yet. Why am I going to carry you? We're huge. We're massive. So that was like month 4. And then we kept just knocking on the door, close a couple of smaller deals, leverage locations, prove like we can do it. Like when you first close a shop, I mean, how'd it go with you in terms of like getting your brand out and your first time you really like?
It was the same thing, except for what we did was we just finessed the system, right? So the way that, let me also say this too, is like, I think a lot of times when young people start brands, the immediate first question, or it should be, is like, what is my brand and how am I going to market it, right? And I think that what a lot of people do wrong is they buy a bunch of product and they just focus product, and then you get all this product and you can't sell it, right? So for me, and what I preach a lot is like getting the marketing down, getting the branding down, getting the actual customers before you have the product if you can. And I think now with social media and all that stuff, you can do that, right? So for us, obviously I was a part of a TV show. We had done that for the last probably 3 or 4 years. This brand was an opportunity for me to make, you know, a difference in what was going on in clothing, but also to directly launch it on this platform that I was building. So for me, I went and printed samples and spent like $200 just on samples, and just wore them all over the TV show that we were doing. Put it all over everything, put stickers, put fake line sheets, put everything all over everything. And then I went and got a DVD of the episode, the first episode that it was going to be featured in. I got a DVD like 3 months before it came out. I drove it down to PacSun and I said, hey, this is about to be huge. If you guys take this for all of your doors, I'll give it to you exclusively for 6 months, and I'll tell everyone that you are the place to get it. And so I got them to take that risk on us, right? And it caused this kind of immediate, pretty big explosion. Now, we had a lot of trouble and we still had problems with like the product selling and, you know, continuing to scale and do all that stuff. It was really hard, but that initial impact, I was able to make a pretty big, you know, impact.
Yeah, it's huge. What a great start. I think it's really cool too, because like, I was kind of that generation who you really spoke to in a way. Like I watched the shows. Like I went to PacSun, got my first gear, Young and Reckless. You know,
so good.
Back in 2009, 2010. Yeah. So it's really, really cool, man. I think you did a great job with that launch.
Yeah, I just think
a huge platform.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I just think that like that's why I constantly urge people to, as soon as you're making some money or you have anything or the ability to do it, like really focus on the brand and what the brand is, and like how can you make this brand cooler than the next one and the next one and the next one, because I'm sure that you have a million competitors, right? And I'm sure that you run the risk of, if there's not already, like these massive companies coming in and overshadowing you, right? And so the only thing that you have on money and infrastructure is brand. That's the only thing that has value that they can't recreate. And that's why the cycle continues of big corporations with money buying the newest, coolest brand, because they can't just pump out cool and authenticity and connection. And so it's like you have to really make sure that you focus on the one thing that you can own and no one can take from you, which is what you guys stand for, telling your story, connecting with human beings. Like me sitting here with you for 10 minutes, I feel such, like I literally want to switch to green tea full time and stop drinking coffee, right? But that's, I don't have, all your customers don't have a chance to sit with you for 10 minutes. So it's like, how can you every single day make sure that you're doing exactly what you just did to me, to all of those people? You know, like that's the real struggle.
That's the goal, man. I think it's crazy too. One of the biggest things I've learned in the first year of business is like, especially in consumer packaged goods or like apparel, everyone's selling a very similar product, you know? There's not a lot of difference in the actual like material, you'll say, or like there's a lot of matchas on the market. There's a lot of different levels and grades, and it's really like the brand that separates it. Like General Mills and Kellogg's buy rice in the same plant, like same farm, you know, like, but their cereal is totally different. Yeah. So you would never like you go and you look for the brand, and that's a really powerful thing. Like as like an entity itself, to build something that's like bigger than the product and that speaks.
Yeah, what's your guys' branding like story and strategy and stuff? Like how do you treat that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we're still learning and we're growing. This is a place of obviously work over the long term, but we're just providing like focus and healthy energy to healthy lifestyles and optimizers. So our goal is like to find and really speak to like the entrepreneurs, the go-getters, the people like trying to make the best of themselves, because we really feel that TenzoTea does that. Like it brings out your best qualities. It gives you focus for a long day of hard work. Also gives you the antioxidants, keep you healthy and strong and like.
What type of content are you doing?
We're building it out, man. Like we've been doing a lot of bootstrapping. So a lot of the content I've been taking pictures with, doing with the camera. But we're starting to build out a lot of our primary content focus right now is for Facebook marketing, because that's where kind of a lot of our revenue is driving from.
And what's that look like? Like photos of cool product shots and stuff like that?
Yeah,
like what works the best for you on ads?
Yeah, we've been playing with this a lot, but it's interesting because Matcha is very, very new to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we haven't been able to just put a photo of a green drink on the internet and people buy. You know, like, so our funnel looks more like we have to start really more informationally based. We have like a video that we have 2 funny videos right now, top of funnel, that are like, one's really polarizing. It says like, is it time for you to put down your morning cup of joe? And of course, everyone's up in arms about that. So like, it's a ton of engagement. And that kind of like, when we build that, and we talk about matcha and like the tradition and like what it is and what it does for you. And then kind of build the retargeting lower with more like direct call to action and stuff.
So is that your strategy? Like you try to just, like you do prospecting with the more branding ads, and then you retarget them to actually sell them products? Is that your strategy?
Yeah, a lot of us work best for us is like just to play, like show our 2 best performing audiences are kind of like young millennial women, kind of like, well, a little older too, like 25 to 35-year-old women, and then like biohackers, entrepreneurs, men, you know?
Yeah.
So we always start with like these top of funnel videos and just kind of bring them out. And then we'll take 10-second retargeting audiences of people that watched enough of the video to know like, oh, this guy's interested, you know? And you drop them into a lower level, like send them an article about how the caffeine's different than coffee, or you send them about the metabolism boost you get from a pre-workout matcha. And then kind of bring them into the game, you know, and like get their email. Emails are huge.
That's huge. Huge. That's all that matters, man.
How about you guys? What's like after the whole blow up?
Yeah, I mean, well, so for us, like our biggest thing was switching from retail to e-com, right? So essentially, like I mean, really, to be honest, when I entered this business, the strategy was I want to be, because not only did I see like, okay, I have this huge platform to market a product, but what's actually the story? Like, what does this even mean? So what it meant to me was I want to take some of the same qualities from like streetwear, from these brands that are out here that people are lining up down the block and waiting in line to get a t-shirt from. The reason why they're doing that is because they connect with the audience. It's deeper than just fabric or any of those things. They connect so much with a shitty Gildan $30 t-shirt that they will wait in line around the block to get it, right? The thing is, all of those brands at the time were too cool. The worst thing you could possibly do was sell to a store like PacSun. So what I wanted to do was have that same connection, that same kind of universal messaging that streetwear had, but not be too cool to sell to anyone, right?
It'd be available, to the general public.
So like, because I grew up in Ohio, right? In Ohio, you can't get any of these cool streetwear brands. Like, you just weren't offered them. So
Supreme existed till I came to LA, you know?
Exactly,
like, kind of
exactly.
Crazy.
So my goal was like, how do I give a little, when you walk through a PacSun, how do you feel a little bit different about Young and Reckless than you felt about any of those other brands, right? So then the strategy is you obviously build a great relationship with PacSun. You try to get as much shelf space as you can, and you protect it and you keep growing it, right? Then how do you move to Tilly's and do the same thing there? Then how do you move to Macy's? Then The Buckle, then Dillard's. And that was the game. How do you be the coolest, most connected brand in all of these big retailers and build relationships? The problem is when retail finally hits a point where it's only going to go down for a long time, and
just the general trends of like Amazon taking over the world.
Yeah, and that's just what's happening, right? Like retail is just screwed. Like in my opinion, retail is screwed. I don't think it's going to go completely away, but it needs to be probably 25% of the size that it is right now. Like if I was any retailer, pretty much, I would just close 75% of my doors tomorrow, because I really think that that's the size it deserves to be, and then I would focus all of that attention on my e-commerce, right? But what we saw happening, luckily early enough, was all that started happening, all these problems started coming, and all of the new brands that were really buzzing were buzzing off of the internet, right? And e-com and social media and connecting and whatever. So we instantly had to abandon, here's the other thing that happened. All of the cool brands like Supreme's the coolest, right? So let's use them as an example. Supreme used to be, you had to go to one of their however many stores, 12 stores or whatever, and you had to wait in line, you had to get the product. Now with e-commerce, a kid in Nebraska, in the middle of nowhere, can order a Supreme shirt and have it. There is no longer that wall that separates aspirational people from the rest of the brands. So that is completely gone. So the thought of being the coolest brand in Nebraska is now gone because that kid has access to whatever he wants, right?
Sure, yeah.
So that whole model is gone. The retail model is getting destroyed. So now what do? So we had to pivot dramatically, like fire half of our team, do everything to switch.
Happen? Like what year is this?
It started probably 2.5 years ago, and is still going to this day. Like I still to this day, I'm like, damn, I need 3 less salespeople and 3 more content people. That's just a reality. And I think that in a year, it'll be, damn, I need 3 less production people and 3 more content people. Like I just think that's where it's going. And so what I'm saying is we had to change our whole strategy and learn ads. And we used to, the game used to be, can you spend, you have a $100,000 marketing budget this month. How do you spend that to get people into PacSun, Tilly's, Macy's to buy your clothes? Yeah, like, I mean, and it's a battle, but it's just a different mindset. It's like, okay, we go do these big deals with big artists and big, whatever, and send people clothes that are on MTV shows, other MTV shows and all this stuff. Now it's, how do you spend that $100,000 to target people the best and really get people to instantly go to your site and buy product, right? And it's just a totally different strategy. It's totally different people. It's a totally different DNA of a company. And so it was a hard lesson to learn, but I feel so much more educated now that I'm on the other side of it. You know what I mean? Because it's hard. It's hard to build a business with what you think is true, and you take it as fact. And you build and you get better and you build and you get better. And then one day that fact is no longer fact. It's like, wait a minute, they didn't teach me this. It's like if senior year in high school, they were like, okay, let me tell you something. Math doesn't actually work the way you thought it did. 2 + 2 is 1. You're like, what the fuck, right? Like, where do I do it? Yeah, but once you relearn it, now we feel extremely like, we know we're very clear on how we got here. We're very clear on the history of how this stuff went. And we're very like adaptable and agile, and you know what I mean?
Huge point that we've been really trying to think about a lot. I have a lot of questions there from that kind of that last piece, but like first, adaptability I think is so huge. Like the ability to like recognize when you're going the wrong way, and be like fluid in your approach enough to be able to turn around. I feel like so many people or businesses I've come in contact with just like are so stuck in their ways. They're like, this is how it's gonna go. And then the hardest part, the funniest part, I guess, about starting a business for me is like, you do all this research, you make a good decision, you think it's a good decision. Then 2 weeks later, someone comes to your door and brings you more information, you're like, holy shit, man. Like, everything just changed. Everything just changed.
But what I learned is this, at the core of all of that, it is simply, like, take it all the way down to the core, it's simply our human nature protection mechanisms to not want to be wrong. And to place bets and to stand on them sturdy. And that probably benefited us back when we were cavemen, right? It probably did. There's probably mechanisms in there that made us very safe and rigid on our ideas and probably building our little tribes and all that bullshit, right? But today, it becomes our biggest downfall. Is that you make a decision, and now all of a sudden that decision being wrong means that you're wrong, which means that you're stupid, which means that you're incompetent, which means that you're not cut out for the job. And that's just not true. Everyone's gonna be wrong. It's who handles being wrong the best, plain and simple. Who can move the best, who can take it less personally, who can learn and move. That's it. It's not a game of who's right the most, and that's where everyone goes wrong. It doesn't matter if you're wrong 9 times. If on the 10th one you get a big enough win, great, you're alive. It's the same as gambling or investing or any of these things. It's like, you just got to place bets and protect your downside as much and hopefully get as big of an upside as you possibly can. And you don't need more wins than losses. You just need a couple big ones and a bunch of small losses.
I feel like too, in that same sense, it's like place a lot of bets, but make sure you don't die.
Because
like the fatal errors are what stop you. There's a lot of things you can test and try and learn from that aren't going to be fatal errors.
But it's the same thing that investors do. It's the same thing that real estate people do. It's the same thing.
One investment that blows up that makes your portfolio.
But the thing that I think people take out of the equation when they're teaching that is the investment that you're making, like from your self-confidence. You know what I mean? Like they forget that every bet that you're making is a bet on how smart you are. So it's like, how can you protect your downside there? Well, don't tie too emotionally to your thoughts and to your ideas and to your, you know what I'm saying? Gather information as good as you possibly can. Gather it, surround yourself with the smartest people, research, do all that, and make the best bet that you possibly can. And when you're wrong, learn why you were wrong and move on to the next one. That if you can do that non-emotionally and just move forward, you're in a lot better shape.
That's such a good point, you know, like it's almost the ego.
It is 100% the ego. So that's what you have to become ultra aware, because I went through this phase super heavy, is like, if you're scared to make a decision or you're not making a decision, is it because you honestly don't know, the decision's too hard, or is it because you're scared to put your ego on the line? Then when you lose, did you actually financially really lose? Are you really in trouble? Are the numbers fucked up? Are you really like gonna have to sell your house or get rid of your apartment or move back in with your parents? Or is your ego just hurt because you think you're stupid? And there's a big difference. So true. And people take that one and they run. You run from those ego hits. And those ego hits are exactly where you learn.
So true, man. I love that.
It's like saying, I want to get really buff, right?
Yeah.
But man, lifting weights is fucking painful. And like, I'm going to avoid that at all costs. But I'm going to get buff. But like, I'm going to avoid that silly feeling you get. Or like, I'm going to lose weight. But like, that unfortunate silly feeling you get on that treadmill is not for me. I'm going to find another way. It's like, good luck. Then you're going to become an Instagram entrepreneur and you're going to just, you know, pretend your whole life, right?
Embracing the suck.
Yeah, you got to embrace that suck, man.
It's crazy.
You got to fail as quick as humanly possible.
That's good to hear, man. I think we've failed a lot over the last year, so hopefully we're
Fuck yeah. But that's what you got to talk about, you know what I mean? Because I think that like we are very fortunate. This is one thing. We're very fortunate to live in an age where that now is valuable. Failing is, okay, so think about it this way. Like, it's almost like we got the ability, because of social media and connecting with human beings, to like recycle our waste. And what I mean by that is, it used to be that you failed and you learned, and that was good for you, but you couldn't do anything with it. Now, with social media, with podcasts, with all this stuff, you can tell the story of those failures and use that waste, that trash, to build an audience. Now you're using all your failures to connect with other human beings who are also failing, and now they like you more, and they believe you more, and they want to buy your tea more. It's incredible. So it's like, how can you, like, if I were you, I think everything you're doing is great, and I'm sure that you're busy as fuck, but I think you need to like really think about putting your story on the front lines as much as possible. Like, if your brand is for achievers, essentially, right? It's for people who want all the energy they can have, but in a healthy way. So your brand is for healthy high achievers. What you should do is start a podcast where you, or a video series or whatever, where you go around and find healthy high achievers and you interview them. And it doesn't have to be, yo, what kind of tea do you like? Do you like coffee? Well, how come you don't like coffee? Like, you just literally, you build an audience that is worried about being healthy and achieving at a high level, and relates to your failures, relates to your successes, relates to their failures, their successes. If your podcast has, doesn't matter, 5,000 listeners, that's 5,000 people that directly want what you are serving, which is healthy high achievement. Because also what happens when you max out and you've sold all the green tea that you can sell, you're gonna wanna sell more shit. But what's that shit gonna have to be? It's gonna be stuff that helps you achieve at a high level in a healthy way. That's your brand. So now you have more people to sell product to, more. But I would just really take that into consideration, because you're a really cool guy, and like, you're very like, you know, you're good to be out front and to be on camera and to be doing a podcast, absolutely. And I think that like, if you would have came up to me and said, you came up to me at Starbucks and you said, hey man, did you know that green tea is much more healthy statistically than coffee and you get less of a crash? I'd be like, bro, stop talking to me now, right? Like, give me the fucking latte. It's because I know you, and that you went to school to be a neuroscientist, and you blah, 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 and you did the research, and you found out that this is something worth pushing. It's the fact that you're dedicating your life to something makes me be like, well, this is probably something. You know what I mean? That's what's gonna turn me, not you having the best, you know, ad in the world, or the best, you know. I think you should try a prospecting ad for Facebook of you talking. You know?
Interesting. I think it's really cool. I guess we've thought about this a decent amount, but like putting it into action is, you know, is the next step. Is like really doing it. I think a podcast is a great idea. trying to think of other ways we could really like be in front of the brand. Because when you're selling e-commerce, you know, like you have to really work to get yourself in front. I think you've done a very good job of it, by the way. Like,
thank you.
In terms of Young and Reckless, like being the face of the brand.
Yeah.
Like what other ways have you really like kind of worked in that, or like small things, even like?
So I'm trying to get better at it, right? Because I came from an age when we did TV, and even just when I was growing up watching other people, the goal was how do you pretend to be the coolest or the funniest or the, right?
Yeah.
And it was about crafting this thing, whether it be like, yo, I want to go get a TV show because I want to help young entrepreneurs and I want to seem like the best entrepreneur in the world. Or how do I go be, even a movie star or an artist or all these different things where I'm kind of building this facade. Now it's about how do I truly connect the best? Like what is the platform? Is it podcast? Is it video? What is it that I can truly connect with people the most? Because at the end of the day, my agenda is good. My agenda isn't get rich.
Sure.
People whose agendas get rich, you have a bit of a problem, right? Because how do you connect with people like, yeah, we all want to get rich. Like, you're just an asshole. You know what I mean? Totally. Like, what are you really offering the world? So the trick is how do you connect and how do you really share what you're trying to share, right? My thing that I've always tried to share since starting Young and Reckless, I just didn't know how to do it well, was I saw, moving from Ohio to LA, how my brain opened up. And I got to know successful people and my brain opened up, right? And it wasn't college, it wasn't any one thing. It was saying, oh my God, this is possible. And it made me want to read and learn and listen to the right podcasts and interview people and whatever. And I have that process to blame 100% for any of my success, right? All I am is everything that I've taken in, recycled, and then put to use. That's all I am. So my goal is how do I put out as much more of that as possible so that other people can take it, recycle it, and put it to use.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that's all I'm trying, like how do I connect more and more and more, right?
Sure, yeah.
And it's podcasts and it's video and it's like, we're still trying and we're still learning the best way. But it's a process, and I think I've found it much easier to do this, to be myself, and to walk away from this and say, I think I might have helped a little, or I might have sparked an idea that helped you. Than I do filming a really funny episode of reality TV, right? I never drove home and like, I killed that. Like, did you see the way that I like dodged that burrito as it was flying towards me? You know what I'm saying? Like, you never do that. You just go home and like, oh, I got some good content. This way you actually leave feeling like, oh, I'm building something much more than a product, much more than whatever. Like, this is something real.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And kind of on that note too, like how do you balance like leveraging that like personality brand with your business brand? Like, do you think they help each other? How do they work together?
I think if you do it right, they work together. Right? So if you do it wrong, you're too busy worried about how cool do I look? Did I say the right thing that people will like me? Am I funny? Am I whatever? I think that your team, your employees, your staff, it kind of turns them off, right? Then you find yourself having to come home come home meaning to the office and be like, hey guys, is everything okay? Like I was just out, let me wipe the makeup off my face, right? Like I was just out being and that's a very hard thing to play both worlds. But what I do notice is the more that you do that's around what you truly believe and truly empowering people, my employees now listen to my podcast. And they'll now come up to me in the kitchen at the office and be like, hey, that thing that what's his name said about whatever. I'm like, yeah, wasn't that crazy? And now we're closer.
Totally.
Right? So if you're truly living practicing what you preach, that just brings you closer. I'm taking the books that I read now that I love, and I'm doing a book club at my office, so all the employees can read what I'm reading, and we can walk around the office and talk about cool things, because you can only talk about t-shirts for so long, you know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
So that's what I would say is, it's about like, when you're in line with what you really believe in, and you're building content around what you really believe in, and everything lines up, and it's real, and it's for the right reasons, it all just helps each other. You know, you're not battling like, oh, am I funny enough? Am I a big enough star today? You know what I mean?
It's being authentic, vulnerable, authentic.
Yeah. Yeah, like do you think that like Oprah has any trouble like scaling her business or making a new hire or having a no, because she's fucking Oprah and she's incredible and they want to work for her and they feel empowered.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? But like Will Ferrell might have some trouble.
I don't know. In the same sense too, it's kind of like building that mission that's bigger than yourself or than like your because I feel like that's the hardest thing. What I kind of learned in sports as well is like the best teams you play on have like a really true mission. Everyone's bought in with the same thing. You're all working together to grow, and you grow together, you know? It's not like one person over here in the limelight soaking it all up and the rest, like, whenever you have stars like that, and even on any sports team, it just kind of breaks down the whole core unit of the squad.
And you know this probably statistically because you're a fucking neurosurgeon, there are statistics to show that when something like a sports team has a tragic event, like a family member passing away of a coach or a blah, 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 that the team does better. Because now you have a reason to make it to the playoffs, or now you have a reason to whatever, right? Yeah. And there are studies that show that is true, and it's about having something to rally around, right? So if your team feels like they're going to the office every day because they're genuinely giving people a healthier alternative to achieve at a higher level than they ever thought, that's something pretty cool to like sit at your desk and work on.
Yeah, likewise, you know, that's the same deal. Like you're inspiring people. I feel that's generally too, when you have a mission that's bigger than yourself, it's like, it's easier to buy into something that is bigger than you rather than like in you. If you're trying to get rich, it's like, I'm gonna work hard, but like, no, I'm doing this for other people now. That's a much more powerful.
And then the money comes with it, right? Then you get to be really peaceful and rich, right? But if you search for rich, like you're not gonna find peace, and you probably won't find money.
True.
You know, but if you search for actual value, you're gonna find like peace in your brain, and you're also gonna find probably more material wealth than you would have had otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good lesson for life. So yeah, drama. So like we're at the point in our business where we've kind of been LA based, and we're getting ready to do more like national distribution, kind of make everything bigger and better, and kind of move out of this small little hub where we can kind of service our customers individually. I'd love to rewind it back a couple of years back to Pack Sundays. Like when you first launched there, did you have like a West Coast distribution? How did you like take these sample t-shirts, go to Pack Sun, figure out all your operations, distribution to launch? Did you launch nationally, or how
yeah, I mean, Pack Sun was 600 doors across the country.
Wow. So 0 to 600 in like 6 months. How'd that go?
So the way that worked was first when you're traveling around, at least in our business, I'm sure it's pretty similar in yours, is like you find the retailers or the distribution places that you want to be in, right? Coffee shops, whatever. You find the buyer, you find the offices, you go down there, you make your big pitch, you say why everything's so much better than the rest. And then usually, like I said, I'm guessing it's very similar, but they place an order. And they usually place a test order. Let's say if they have, like PacSun had 600 doors, they tested us, sorry, because we went all doors in PacSun. Tilly's had 500 doors, they tested us in 100 first. So they placed the order, we got it manufactured and sent it straight to their distribution hub, right?
That's huge.
Yeah, and then so they then distribute it to those doors. Like we don't ship obviously to doors individually, we ship to them and they handle that part.
That's great.
So they ship it out to the 100 doors, they see how it checks right away, how it tests, if people are buying it or not, and they kind of get a pretty early, they have systems to make a pretty early read on, is this worth ramping up the doors or not? And so for us, luckily, we had some relatively quick growth, and so then it would be 150 doors, then it would be 200 doors, then it would be 250, and they would just ramp it up like that. But every time we would go have a meeting with them, it's very similar to working with a mom and pop place. Like you go, they place the order, you send it to their distribution center, and then they take care of it, and hopefully you're in the money at that point.
That's huge. That's awesome. So you kind of started with a small launch, or what was your initial line, what it looked like, and like how'd you prioritize those first pieces?
Yep. So for us, like I said, Young and Reckless was a company that was overwhelmingly driven by brand. So what we did was we worried about the marketing and the platform and all that stuff first. Our first run of t-shirts was essentially a bunch of different flips of our 3 main logos.
Gotcha.
Different colors, different everything we could possibly do. We were also really fortunate that in that time, graphic t-shirts were really, really popular, and they also are an extremely high margin business. So it was a dream come true for us, right? So what we did was we took our 3 logos, it was really recognizable, it was very clear what it was. We made all these different color options for them to choose from. We took it to them and we said, which of these do you want? And maybe they picked 3 SKUs out of the 20 that we had designed, and that's what we then printed up and sent to them, right?
Awesome.
So that was the trick for us. For you, obviously, that part will be a little bit different because we were able to just kind of print up whatever t-shirt they asked for. But still, I think that the product offering equation is very similar, right? You kind of say, here's what we offer, here's the story behind each product and why this is good and why this is good. Here's our best seller right now. Here's the one we feel has a lot of potential. And you sell them on it. And you hope that that they pick the one that actually does well and they know their customers really well. And then as it performs, the other thing is as you start to get success with your main product, you can then start to have some leverage and sneak your other products in there. Like you can say, hey, I know companies like Huff, for instance. When Huff made those weed socks that were so popular, they were so much more popular than Huff wanted them to be. Huff was trying to launch their shoe brand at the time. So one thing that they did was they said, okay, you can order the socks, but you have to buy X amount of shoes with it if you're gonna buy the socks. And they were able to sneak their other products into this pipeline leading by one strong product. So pay attention to that. And let's say, important lesson. Yeah, like one product becomes the hero product and really takes off, say, okay, but you have to buy our, X amount of units of our cake if you're gonna buy this, right? Sure. And before you know it, that might be a hit that nobody expected, and now you have this whole other business,
I like how one of the biggest points I heard there was like, keep it simple, Yeah. I feel like that's a really important thing that we learned too, because all we do is matcha. Like we have one SKU, organic ceremonial matcha, TenzoTea. So like when we were getting rolling, we had a bunch of flavors, other things you can do. You can mix it with sugar and fruit flavors and this and that. And at a certain point, we were like, we got to get our main, dial in our main value point,
That's smart.
Like, kind of keep it really simple.
Yeah, because once you build an audience, then you can put in more product, right? But that's why I said, like, I've seen so many people go wrong where they've just said, like, okay, tea, green tea, we're gonna change the green tea game. Let's get all this shit, blah, 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 blah. And next thing you know, you're living in like an apartment stacked to the ceiling with boxes and no customers. And that's worst case scenario.
Same idea, if you were to go and print all of your 20 initial shirts, print 10,000 each of them, and go, these are gonna sell.
Yeah, why wouldn't they? I'm so awesome. How could anyone not buy them?
These look great, I think they look great.
Yeah, and people are like, but no, like I told my neighbor about it and he said it was a great idea. So I bought 10,000 units. And it's
that's
like,
the funniest thing, man. And it's also that same like selflessness and the lack of ego where you can really just like, it's not what I think, you know? It's not at all what I think. It's like, who likes this? Like, who can I sell this to? Who's gonna wanna pick it up? How can I improve it for them? That value offering is so essential. I feel like a lot of people like, it's been funny because I have everyone says they're an entrepreneur now. You're like, oh, I'm doing this. Of course, like,
it's so cool.
It's so cool, It's like, oh, like, and they're like, oh, well, first of all, why haven't you started? Second of all, like, there's a lot of those problems you come across when you're first starting a business where you try and like make something for yourself. Or you try and do this crazy big project. It's like, for me, like the whole app game is just crazy. Like it'd be so much more difficult to sell an app and get downloads than just to find a simple product and like build an audience.
100%. It's hard, but that's why I think people don't want to be wrong. They don't want their ego to be hurt. So what they do is they say how cool they are. They say how cool an idea that they have is, and they pitch it to people that aren't going to say that it's whack. And then when people say, yeah, man, I think that'd be dope, you should do it, now all of a sudden you have this, it's, confirmation bias. It's a made up, it's like, you're not getting real information. Go to a stranger who has no reason not to tell you that your thing sucks and give it to them. And when they say it sucks, it probably sucks. You know what I'm saying? Your brother, your mom, your aunt, your cousin are probably going to tell you it's pretty good and they're proud of you and here's a pat on the head. Go walk into Starbucks and say, hey, would you be interested in having this instead? I'm going to give this to you. Would you be interested in taking this instead of what you're about to order? If you can start to get people to taste it and say, yes, I will take this instead, now you have a good product, a good story, a good way to convince people. If they say, fuck off, kid, I don't like your idea and this tastes like shit, maybe your idea and your product isn't good enough. You should put yourself through that sort of like brutal testing. Because why not? Who cares? You can leave and be like, that was fucking crazy.
But people want their coffee. They are like, boom, streamlined to the coffee in the early mornings, but we get them on the way back out and they're like more available to talk to.
But think about how powerful that is, right? Like you have the potential to have that same laser vision towards your product. Like nobody has ever been in line at a PacSun like this. Get out of my way. I'm buying this t-shirt. It doesn't happen.
It's that kind of addictive nature too of a caffeinated beverage, which is really interesting.
You're selling superpowers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're selling a better way to do it. And I think at the end of the day, that's what you have to focus on. Like, what is truly the difference? Sure. The difference is what you're doing, why it's different and better for you than coffee. And who are you? Why are you different? Why are you someone that they should listen to? Why are you someone that they should take their information from? I mean, a guy who went to school for neuroscience and decided to abandon that to sell this green liquid. Yeah. There's someone probably that might be on to something.
Story about that we haven't told well enough yet. You know, that's kind of where it's at. I like that.
You should do that a lot.
I like that a lot. That's a really good point.
And focus on it and find other high achievers. And if you're simply doing a podcast about healthy high achievement and you're the guy who owns this company and maybe there's a drink in the shot or whatever, like, it's flawless. There's no better marketing than that. Sure. You know what I mean? You can do all the cool, interesting videos, and those will work for ads and for targeting and all that stuff. But man, connecting with a human being and them honestly understanding that you just gave them something better than what they do every day is priceless. And they're never gonna forget that you're the one who taught them that.
I love that, man. That's a really thing we haven't, the way you said it just seems so simple and so clear.
Yeah.
It just makes so much sense, you know? Like, and that's, I feel like, how you build an audience that's bigger than just TenzoTea, you know? Like, that's how you can reach other levels. You can, like, highlight people, also, like, collaborate with bigger audiences. You know, for a long time, I guess I was thinking content creation wise, we do a lot of, like, action stuff, like meditation photos, but like having someone come on and talk about their life, just like you do on your podcast, man. I think it's great. Yeah. TenzoTea could be a huge.
It will be. TenzoTea will be huge, and I'll do your merch. All right. I'll do your merch. Hey. Deal. Yo, man, I really appreciate this. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for sharing everything with me, and hopefully I could, you know, add a little bit of value or give you some whatever, and you know, I'm always here, so if you have any questions or anything like that,
thanks so much.
Yeah, hit me up.
That's one of the biggest things, man, is like you can't learn this from regular people. Yeah. It's not something that just, you can't read it in a book. You can't go online, read a blog and learn this kind of stuff, you know? Like,
that's true.
It's some of those things that is just untouchable for regular people. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, man. Thank you.
Sit down and chat.
This was great for both of
cool.
us. Yeah. Let's go, man. Let's take our teas and let's get out of here. I feel so healthy and energized. Bro, you don't need it. Thank you.
It's been awesome, man.
Keep doing your thing.
Yeah, same, likewise. We'll stay,
absolutely. Stay in touch on everything, and you know, we're here.
Awesome, man.
So just
small world. LA is a great place.
It is.
I love it.
All right, guys.